Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Full Count MLB Sports Betting Show presented to you by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Eric Pauly, and I'm joined with two phenomenal cappers, Kevin Thomas and JM Sports, Jeff Michaels. Kevin, I know you're sitting there watching the Phillies. Your Phillies leading the Braves 6-1. How are you feeling? And good afternoon.
Oh, awesome start. This is an awesome start, but I'm still a little worried because the Braves keep getting them on base. Bases loaded twice, and now we got two on now. So, it's nerve-wracking to be a Philly fan. But since 2011, you got to be excited.
Yeah, no, the Braves certainly aren't going anywhere. Those two teams know each other very, very well, and I'm glad to see the Phillies off to a nice start. I gave out on the First Family Show today and to my clients, Phillies plus 1.5 for today. So let's keep that momentum going in Atlanta. Now, Jeff, we got the Guardians ALDS Game 1 tonight in New York, taking on the Yankees. How are you feeling about that game tonight, and how else do you feel? How are you feeling this afternoon?
Good. Yeah, it's exciting to really get into playoff baseball and seeing how this wild card series affects the DSs. And we're going to be talking about that Guardian series today. So I'm excited, but I'm definitely excited to watch them play as a fan too. And I'll be at the game on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Hopefully not down 0-2 after New York.
Yeah, hopefully not. Coming back in the best of 5 series down 0-2 is certainly a tall task. I'll do my best to keep you updated on any live updates on the Phillies-Braves game as we go through our roundtable games. The Mariners and the Astros, they kick off in about 30 minutes or so. So we're going to focus on the two games that are later today, starting with Jeff's Cleveland Guardians taking on the New York Yankees in New York. This matchup, the Yankees are minus 210 home favorites. The total is set at 7 runs, and you have Garrett Cole making the postseason start for the New York Yankees, and Cal Quantrill making his postseason debut this year for the Cleveland Guardians. Quantrill had a fantastic season, but if you peel back the onion a little bit, on the road this year, Quantrill has not been as electric as the stats have seemed. The Guardians have won 21 of 28 of his starts this season, which is amazing, but also unsustainable. On the road, his ERA shoots up to a 3.53, a 2.82 batting average against, a 4.11 slugging percentage against, a 3.94 FIP, and a 1.39 WHIP. So that's slightly concerning. Yankees, Garrett Cole, another fantastic season, but up and down. I mean, I'm very excited for this matchup. I think the Guardians could certainly put up a fight against this Yankee team. We'll start with you, Jeff. How are you viewing this matchup?
I'm excited. I was looking ahead a little bit to the entirety of the series, and it was kind of even shocking to me looking at the records between the two teams that the Yankees actually only won 7 more games than Cleveland this year, but they definitely dominated the head-to-head series. They won 5 of the 6 meetings, and they've won 11 of the 15 meetings over the last 3 years. But 3 of the games that they won this year were all the way back in April when they swept the Guardians in an early series on the year. And, I'm looking at the pitching matchups for even this series as a whole. And the Yankees may have the edge today. Garrett Cole, like you said, 13-8. He's got the name and he's got the history to prove his resume. But he does have a 5.22 ERA in his last 5 starts, 3 of which he allowed 4 or more runs. And his ERA is 5.15 in his last 6 starts at home. But he does have a pretty impressive record against Cleveland, going 7-2 with a 2.9 ERA, which includes a 2-0 record this year and a 2-0 record in the postseason. But you mentioned how they've done in Quantrill's starts. They've won 16 out of his last 17 outings, and Quantrill's 11-0 in those starts with a 2.95 ERA. And in the last 3, his ERA is just 1.59. Cleveland comes into the game with the momentum. They took down Tampa Bay in that wild card series, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 overall. Plus, they're 15-4 after allowing 2 or less runs in consecutive games. And looking ahead, you got the day of rest tomorrow, and then I think even in New York, Cleveland has a pitching edge in Game 2 with Bieber on the mound. He's 10-0 when starting against left-handed pitchers this year against Nestor Cortez. They did it against McClanahan last week, and he's got a shot to do it again this week. And then you got Tristan McKenzie coming home, where Cleveland's won 10 of his 14 starts this year, and his ERA is just 2.77. He is again taking on a tall task against Severino, but they have the depth to pitch this series, and they could use Savali in Game 4, who got added to the roster, or they go back to Quantrill, who's 13-0 in his career at Progressive. So then you're looking, if you get to Game 5, you're looking to go back to Bieber on short rest. Where from New York, you see Domingo Herman or Jameson Talon, and then potentially again back to Cole. But the Yankees they're bringing back Matt Carpenter off the 60-day IL, which could be big depending on how he bounces back. But I'm sure we've all heard about the mishap with Aroldis Chapman skipping that workout. So they're without him, and they're still going to be without DJ LeMahieu for this series too. So tonight, I'm probably leaning towards the Yankees to take the first one, just with how Garrett Cole is in, these situations. But for the series, I mean, my best bet will be on that too. So my take's a little bit different.
Yeah, no, totally understand where you're coming from. I got to ask you though, Jeff, we know that the Guardians' strength is their pitching staff. The Guardians against a fantastic Rays team with pitching as well, only putting up 3 runs in those 2 games. Obviously, one coming in that walk-off homer in the 15th, the other a Jose Ramirez 2-run dinger in Game 1. How concerned are you about their inability to produce runs? Do you think that has more to do with the caliber of pitchers they faced, or you think that the Guardians, kind of just being that mediocre offensive team, might come back to bite them in a series against the Yankees, who we know when they are hot can, of course, tack on runs with the best of them?
I mean, it's definitely gives you a little more confidence as a fan if we can keep their run totals low, because I don't anticipate us putting up 8, 9, 10 runs a game. But with that being said, I mean, we seem to ride the momentum. I mean, you look back at it, we have a lot of 1-run wins. We lead the league in game-winning RBIs after the 7th inning. And every time that the opponent seems to score, we seem to score. You look at all the situations. I mean, even when we were down against Tampa Bay for a minute, they scored in the bottom half of the inning. They scored almost immediately after or the next inning. So maybe that trend continues with an offense that's putting up 5, 6 runs, that they can potentially bounce back. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little gives you a little more confidence if the pitching staff can buckle down and keep their run totals more where we're comfortable and we're accustomed to seeing the Guardians put up runs.
Totally agree. I mean, the Yankees lineup has had its ups and downs this season. Obviously, Aaron Judge has done some unprecedented things this year, but of course, he cannot do it himself. He needs support, and the Guardians, their strength is their pitching staff and their ability to come through in those big moments. So it'll be very interesting to see how this game plays out. Kevin, talk to me. How are you viewing this matchup?
Well, I'm a Francona fan. I gotta love the guy, but like Jeff was hitting on they got Aaron Savali that can come out of the bullpen. I think they're gonna have him in the bullpen with Nick Saban hurt. So I think that's huge for him. He was won his last 3 starts, but then you still got Cody Morris too, and the Yankees aren't familiar with him. So I think that bodes well for the Guardians here. The Yankees on the other side, 5 days of rest. Sometimes that's a little too much. And we all know Garrett Cole, he's a beast, but if you start hitting him, he can unravel quickly. And I think I read that the Guardians are number 1 in hitting, without striking out, putting the ball in play. They're one of the top teams. Now, I know they batted 171 against the Rays. And all year I preached how the AL East is probably the top division. They're down to the Yankees. I mean, the Rays got bounced. The Blue Jays got bounced. Look out for these Guardians. I mean, being a sharp better, I think Game 1 here, I think they can take this Game 1 on the road. I like them. I like the Guardians here for the value. I know you guys are saying that the pitching is not so great on the road, but I don't know. I just like I like the Guardians here in Game 1. I mean, I'm watching my Phillies, with the momentum. The Guardians, I think, are probably the hottest team right now. Quantrill, throw out the road record. This guy's coming in. He's a stud. He's gonna figure out a way to keep it. I think his ERA against the Yankees is like 3. So if they keep that to 3, I think they can beat the Yankees. They got one of the better defenses still in this. Since the Cardinals got eliminated, I think the Guardians probably have one of the better defenses too. And I know the Yankees bullpen ranks 3rd overall, but the Guardians are number 5 right behind them. So it's going to come down to who puts up runs, and I think small ball is going to be huge here. Yankees can get 2 home runs. Who cares? Guardians score 3.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that angle. I mean, I think there's so much to be said about the momentum coming in from playing that wild card round. Not playing in 6 days is tough for any team, and especially given the magnitude of that matchup for Cleveland. They, like, in terms of just value, it's very hard to lay 200 minus 200 on any team in the month of October. And then also pairing that with trying to lay the 1.5, saying a team's going to win by 2 in such a tight environment in the postseason. The value certainly resides in the underdog in these matchups. And while you were speaking, Kevin, I'm sure you saw the Phillies put up another one, 7-1 Philadelphia. And also, not to forget, must mention today on Tuesday is $2 Tuesday. Kevin is one of the featured $2 Tuesday handicappers on SportsMemo. He has an SEC showdown matchup 5-star play. You can get that for $2 or for $5. Kevin's 5-star play, Joe D'Amico's 5-star NFL 10 dimes play, and R&R totals top 5 NHL total. Do not forget to check out SportsMemo and the $2 Tuesday packages that are there. But that's going to bring us to our second game, and this is a much, I don't want to say more interesting game, but this is a matchup where these two teams, while being in the same division, they faced each other so many times, but the Dodgers absolutely ruined the Padres in the regular season, 14-5 record. But now you have a Padres team that has some momentum. They were able to beat the Mets in New York in that first round by a fantastic pitching performance by Musgrove in that game 3. But in tonight's matchup, they're going with Mike Clevinger to make the start, who has been anything short of just bad this season, to say the least. Against on the road this season, also, Clevinger has much worse splits. His ERA is a 5.46, 5.16 FIP, 4.42 slugging percentage against. And you have the Dodgers, who, of course, are this juggernaut of a team loaded from top to bottom. But going back to that momentum, the Los Angeles Dodgers have not played a meaningful baseball game since the middle of September, beginning of September, because they already clinched the postseason berth early and they clinched the NL West early. So the Dodgers team has kind of been coasting to the finish line. And of course, we know about the Dodgers' inability to do well in certain times in the postseason over the past couple of years. I think some of that psychologically does have to do with the fact that if you're not really, playing those hard-earned games or those hard-nosed games toward the end of the season, it makes it hard to, flip that switch back and go right back to, really trying to play dominant baseball. We'll start with you, Kevin, here. The Dodgers being minus 245 road favorites, total of 7.5. Where are you looking to find value in this matchup?
Like you touched on, Julio Urias, he's faced the Padres. He's 3-0 in his last 4 starts, 6-1 last 10 against them. The Dodgers are super rested, which sometimes isn't a good thing. But I'm watching these Braves, and you know what they're missing? They're missing Freddie Freeman. You know why? Because he plays with the Dodgers, and that's huge. The guy is the heart and soul of any team he's on. But what I'm really looking at here is Phillips, Vizia, and Almonte. These guys have an ERA under 2. That's the Dodgers bullpen. These guys are lights out, and they're all first, second year, or rookie. They're amazing. The Dodgers are going to be the toughest team to beat. I think the Padres throw in the towel in this game just by the fact that they have to throw Clevinger out there. I mean, 0-2 with an ERA of 9 against the Dodgers. I'm looking for -3 with the Dodgers so I can get that down to about a -120 or maybe 115. But I think the Dodgers steamroll this one right here.
Yeah, and it's hard to not think that, considering the advantages they had in the regular season. These teams know each other like the back of their hands, and the Dodgers being the talented team the Dodgers are. So looking at an alternative angle instead of laying the traditional run line, finding an alt run line to find more value is certainly a great way to go about this game if you are very confident in one of these heavy favorites. Jeff, do you agree with Kevin here that it's kind of the Dodgers, kind of no questions asked, or do you think the Padres put up more than the fight than Kevin kind of believes?
Yeah, no, I find myself siding with Kevin too. I might be looking at a total in this one going over, but I think it's funny, Kevin mentioned quickly the AL East, the Toronto's gone, Tampa Bay's gone. It's funny that Cleveland and New York is the only playoff series right now that isn't between divisional foes. And who would have thought that the AL East would have been left off those divisions represented in that situation? So Dodgers are one of those teams, and as you mentioned, they've dominated the series, but they're also 8-2 at home this year against the Padres. And the pitching matchup, no question, has the edge leaning towards the Dodgers in this one. But San Diego has won 3 straight Clevenger starts, which surprised me. But he's still got an ERA that's nearly 3.5. And those came against the White Sox in Colorado and St. Louis. So outside of Colorado, those 2 games didn't help his ERA that's over 5 against the division this year. So he's not only struggled against the Dodgers, but he's struggled against all of the division, and Urias just hasn't. I mean, his ERA is under 2, and he's 12-4 against that NL West. And the Dodgers have won 17 of his last 19 starts all the way back to June 18th for this one. They hold the pitching edge pretty much all the way through the series, and San Diego is 20-46 this year, in the last 2 years against bullpens that have a 3.45 ERA or better, and they're 3-8 to close out the season in the second half of the last 2 years against NL teams that are putting up 5 runs or more. So they've just consistently not been able to put up in the second half of the year. I think they do have some momentum coming into this series off a big series win in the first one, but Clevenger probably isn't the pitcher that you want to bring into the first game of the series, bringing in all that momentum. So, I think LA definitely takes the 2 in their home field. San Diego might be able to pull out a win in game 3, but if I'm looking at anything, I'm looking at that alt line, maybe a 2.5 to give you a hook, or I'm looking for a series LA, maybe even a series sweep for LA. So that probably gives you the best value as opposed to betting a minus 200 something favorite throughout the DS series of the postseason. So definitely looking at an alternate line or a series bet for the Dodgers on this one.
Yeah, no, it is certainly very tough to, place your hard-earned money against the Los Angeles Dodgers, considering, again, the magnitude of this roster from top to bottom. There are potentially some holes that you can find in this team where their starting pitching is great, but is it regular season great? Can they actually keep it up in the postseason? Maybe their bullpen is a little bit susceptible, but no, it really is tough to find a flaw in this Dodgers team. And then considering, again, I love the momentum factor in the postseason always in baseball. I love the way the Padres have been playing, but just given this matchup and how lopsided it was in the regular season, the Padres have to make some kind of crazy adjustments to get back into this. And I just don't know where that will come from. But that's actually going to bring us to our best bets of the show. Of course, we only have 2 games on the slate left with the Seattle-Houston game kicking off shortly. And I'll kick this one off. My best bet for this show is on this Padres-Dodgers game, but I'm going with over 7 runs for this matchup. I got 7 earlier this morning at minus 125 juice. It's sitting 7.5 now, and I would still go over on that total. For starters, I went into Clevenger's stats on the road. I think the Dodgers have no problem putting up runs against Clevenger, but I think the Padres at this point in the season, they have a sense of pride, and considering how well they're able to hit against the Scherzers, DeGroms, and Bassett, who's a good pitcher, how well they're able to do against the Mets and putting up runs is certainly going to benefit them in this game. Now, with a total as low as 7.5, that's something the Dodgers against Clevenger could potentially do by themselves. But you're talking about a San Diego Padres team that averaged 5 runs per game on the road this season, which was 3rd in the MLB. And though Urias has kind of had their number this season, I am taking the momentum that the Padres have built over the last month and plus of the season to kind of carry over into this matchup. So given, again, just 7 runs, I can see the Dodgers putting up 6 right away, and I don't see the Padres rolling over. I think it could be a situation where Kevin, hits his bet -3 in a 7-2 ball game, and we're both sitting home happy with the tickets tonight. But given this matchup, given the way the Padres do on the road, and given the way the Dodgers have Clevenger's number and the way Clevenger's just pitched all season long, my best bet is going to be over 7 or 7.5 runs in this matchup. We'll go to you, Kevin. Talk to me. $2 Tuesday capper. What else do you have going on in Sports Memo, and what is your best bet on the show today?
We got hockey kicks off for me tonight, so I got my NHL play up, and I still have my baseball play up for tonight's action too, and it's on that Yankees game, so you can check that out over there at Sports Memo. My best bet though is going to be back to that Yankees game where I'm looking at the total of 7, and I'm going to go under. We talked about the Guardians earlier. They won the first wild card game 2-1, the second one 1-0, and it took 15 innings. Their batting average is 171. And then we look at the Yankees bullpen. They got everybody. They got Italian. I mean, they got starters, Peralta. They got them all. Jermaine, they're all lined up to go tonight. So even if Cole does start to struggle, which I think the Guardians can get to him, like I said, 3 runs. I got a 3-2 game. Well, shit, I'm giving away my premium pick on the show live. There you go. But I definitely like the under 7 here. So go ahead and lock that in.
Under 7 runs. You heard it from Kevin Thomas himself. Make sure you check out $2 Tuesday. You have Kevin's best bet, Joe D'Amico, and R&R totals, $5. Value is undeniable. So make sure you check out what Kevin is doing and get that $2 Tuesday play. Jeff, headed to you. We know Kevin's relaxing right now with the 7-1 lead in Atlanta. Obviously got the Guardians tonight. What's your best bet for the show today?
Yeah, my top play is actually over on the NHL action, but I'm headed back to that same Guardians situation, I guess, for my best bet. I found the Guardians plus a game and a half in the series on DraftKings for minus 140. We have talked about it a couple of times now. I really think Tristan McKenzie in Game 3 coming back home is a big one for us. I think it's one that Cleveland can capitalize on. I keep saying us. I probably shouldn't say us, but I'm sure we all know I'm a fan at this point. But, there is a potential that Bieber can outdo Nestor Cortez without question in Game 3. It's been mentioned more than once that our pitching rotation is night and day between home and away. So anybody that pitches that Game 4 at home, 2 and 4, and even tonight in Game 1 with Quantrill on the mound is up in the air. And I think it's a very real possibility that Cleveland captures 2 games, if not 3 and 4, 2 and 3, and pushes this game to a Game 5. And at that point, you cover, win or lose. So I think Cleveland doesn't have the offensive edge, but I do think that they have the pitching edge, and their bullpen can compete with this New York bullpen, especially without an Aroldis Chapman, and especially in just a 5-game series. I may be a little more concerned if we were playing 7 deep, but in a 5-game series that you have to win 2, and 2 of them are in Cleveland back-to-back, I think there's real potential that if Cleveland doesn't potentially pull the upset in the entirety of the series, they can at least push it to a Game 5. So I like that value at minus 140 plus a game and a half, basically betting on a Game 5 or the Guardians to win the series. So I like it.
I certainly like that angle as well. Thank you for that, Jeff. Make sure you check out what Jeff has going on the premium side as well. Of course, we have football this week, hockey's kicking off, and next thing you know, we'll have basketball next week. So certainly an exciting time for all sports fans. We need to get through this postseason first, but I mean, I don't want this to end. I've absolutely had a blast hosting and watching every single game this season. I'd like to thank all the viewers out there. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Those are the quickest ways to ensure that our channel grows. Your support means the world to us. Thank you so much. For Kevin, Jeff, our producer Chris, and myself, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and best of luck on your bets tonight.